Hey, welcome to the Jim and Tom show. We just interviewed an amazing guest, good friend of Jim's and an amazing woman, Liza Basil. We're going to introduce her in a second here, with her background and some stories, some experiences that are just going to blow your mind. But wanted to state that the focus of today is the benefit of NLP and hypnotherapy, um, in achievement, performance, success, whatever you're pursuing. And if you've ever I expressed in the interview, I've hit that invisible wall before and not known why. And Lisa opens up on that, and just it all got really, really clear. So I had an amazing experience, and I hope you enjoy watching what Lisa says and when she does her magic with us. It was pretty awesome. So anyway, Jim, thanks for being Lisa's friend, and
Yeah, great guest. Amazing personal story you have to hear.
she's awesome. So there we go. All right, Lisa Basil.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jim and Tom show. Jim Lebetti here with Tom Collins. Want to say hi, Tommy boy?
Hi there.
We are here today with our good friend Liza Basil. Liza is a good friend of mine, and she is a licensed cosmetologist, holistic lifestyle coach, certified clinical hypnotherapist, licensed NLP practitioner, makeup artist, and educator. Liza has an amazing story that she's going to share with us today, how she has been a serial entrepreneur most of her life, and really her journey from uh, not being healthy to being extraordinarily healthy. I think that's fair to say, right, Lise? I mean, yeah,
Yes,
your
yes,
story is
sir.
pretty amazing, and your transformation. So, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited. I'm super
Yeah,
excited to be here with you guys.
cool.
Um,
So, yeah, so real quick, can you just share a little bit of your journey to start? How you got into uh, really all those certifications. You've been a salon owner, hairstylist for a long time. Again, you're very successful business owner, but the stuff you've been doing, NLP, et cetera, that's newer, and that's why we're here today to share that story and how it can help our listeners.
sure, sure. So my story started, I received my cosmetology license in 1986 and bought my first business in 1998. And during that course of time, I grew from 2 employees to 62 employees. I had 2 huge locations, and we were in business and still are today. So I'm working on my 24th year in industry of health, wellness, and beauty. And during that time, I was always listening to my clients. I was having such an intimate relationship with them and hearing all of their woes and trials and tribulations in business and personal, and depression and stress and marriage and divorce and all these different things. And I really did develop such a key sense of listening and understanding, but I really wasn't in a position to help anyone. I'm doing their hair, making them beautiful. I was educating, I was taking care of clients, I was taking care of my employees, which that's another whole podcast in itself. And all of that time that I was doing what I call those counseling for my clients, I was just really learning how to listen. And over that time period, I had my own family, I was doing my home care, and just stresses of the world just started to come down on me. So in that time period, from beginning to end, I had gained tons of weight. I had developed diverticulitis. I had high blood pressure. My cholesterol was out of control. And I was just really spiraling down. So during the time of having my business, I was what I call in stress denial. All of the factors of life were coming in, and they were really just taking over my life. And I had been in the hospital several times for diverticulitis. And if your listeners don't know what that is, it's just basically holes in your colon. And they can become very toxic and poisonous. So on the third visit to the hospital, the doctor said to me, I'm going to tell you something as if you were my wife because you're your same age. So at this point now I'm 50. And he said, if you don't change your diet and lifestyle, you're going to have a colostomy bag and probably die. So I would really consider making some serious changes. So whenever anybody hears those dramatic kinds of diagnosis, you're sitting there going, okay, I need to either do A or I need to do B. And
real quick, what's interesting to me is like, because I used to be in the fitness industry, and I can almost guarantee when people hear they're going to die, it's almost the kind of thing you hear all the time. Like, oh yeah, I know I'm going to have a heart attack or something bad. Like I know, and I'll die. But it doesn't seem to have the impact of the visual of the colostomy bag. Oddly, right? Like
so true.
Yeah.
I could see, like, if I told, personal training clients, you're gonna be walking around with a colostomy bag. I think that was be more powerful agent for change than death, as odd as that may sound.
Yeah. And that's so true and well said, because now I'm thinking in the fraction of a second when he's talking to me, your heart is beating out of your chest. You're envisioning this shit bag on the side of your body and your husband not loving you anymore and your children and no one wants to be around you. And all of these things are circling around your mind. And it's just absolutely so stressful and so demeaning. And it was just an awful feeling. So yeah, I definitely think that visual, and that's what NLP is all about, is the visual in your mind that your body creates through the language that you just interpreted from your doctor. So not knowing it at that moment, moving on, I said, okay, this is it. I have to have surgery. I had 18 inches of my colon removed. And at that time, you have to go on to a prescribed liquid diet because your body and your colon is trying to heal. So over 30 days, I had nothing but liquids, and you really drop weight at that point in time. And that gave me a new perspective. I wasn't working. I had to take time for myself to heal. And I just said, that's it. I'm diving deep into this and I'm going to get well. And I started studying nutrition and I started studying food and listening to Dr. Mark Hyman, who is my mentor and amazing person who has taught me how food can literally change your life and how food is medicine. And so I started taking classes online and I attended the Chek Academy. So Paul Chek is a world-renowned fitness and health guru. And his academy teaches you how to holistically heal your body through movement, through supplements, through mind control and meditation, and just simple going back to nature type of healing modalities that really literally changed my life. So I ended up getting my holistic nutrition and holistic lifestyle coaching certificate through the Paul Chek Academy. Once I did that, I was really obsessed. I just couldn't stop with the learning. So I said, oh my gosh, I'm here with my clients now. I'm back to work. Over a year's time during and studying all of that time, I had lost 78 pounds. But I lost weight, but I gained so much knowledge and education about food, movement, healing the mind, and how much the mind plays a part in the whole transformation of my body. So at this point in time now, clients are saying, holy crap, you've lost all this weight, you look amazing. But I didn't look flabby and I still looked so much healthier than I had ever looked before. And so I said, well, I'm just going to keep going with my education. And to this point, this is over a period of about 2 years. I'm just going to keep jumping in and doing more learning about how the mind plays a part in the body and how it's one. So mindfulness and all of this kind of thing. So I ended up, if anyone has not heard of, Mind Valley is a personal performance company. They have hundreds of different programs where they can teach you how to self-empowerment and how to change your life and everything else. So they decided to bring in Paul McKenna, who is the world's first and foremost most famous hypnotherapist. He's from the UK, and he started and they had introduced this new hypnotherapy program. And I was proud to say that I'm first graduating class of that program. And I learned hypnotherapy and how to take your mind and go into a different state of consciousness in your subconscious. If everyone knows or doesn't know, I'm not sure, but subconscious is where your mind is always on record. So we hold all our past memories from our childhood all the way up to our current. And sometimes those memories are a snapshot of a trauma or something that may or may not be holding you back. So as coaches, you're always trying to run over that obstacle of what is it that is holding my client back from taking their business to the next level or taking their performance to their highest peak. And those past memories, habits, and behaviors are lying in the subconscious. So I knew and found out in research that in order to get to the next level, we've got to go back into the subconscious, open up those past memories that are developing your habits and beliefs, and hopefully free you of that, or at least learn how to reverse engineer it so that it will work in your favor. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So then so I was my first graduating class of the Mind Valley Clinical Hypnotherapy class that Paul McKenna had been teaching. But honestly, during that whole time, I'm not sure which students were picking up on it, but he had referred to Richard Bandler many times throughout that class. He was his mentor. He had worked with him numerous times. They had traveled the world together, doing seminars and conferences, and teaching people how to get control of their mind to perform at their highest peak. And so I kept writing his name down and still doing some research on the side, and found out, and I believe that everything happens for a reason. Nothing is a coincidence. He was doing a conference where I could get licensed in NLP a couple of hours from my house. So I said, that's it. I'm taking the jump. I'm taking the leap of faith. I am definitely taking this course. And so I received my license in neuro-linguistic programming. And so hypnotherapy and NLP are techniques that I use in my coaching to help people overcome fears, phobias, blocks, things that are holding them back from their highest performance.
So what was it like? Richard Bandler was there himself, right? When you were at your training?
Yes,
What's Richard? So what's Richard Bandler?
Hours and hours every day. We were there 8 to 10 hours a day. So
Wow.
yeah.
What's it like being trained by the man himself?
So he himself is an amazing human being in terms of how he can look at you and stare into your eyes, and you're super intimidated, and you listen to the way he speaks and the way he moves his body and the questions that he asks. Neuro meaning your mind and your senses and how they perceive. Linguistic meaning the language that he would talk to us in, and he would listen to us talk to ourselves. And then programming is the way that you program your senses, your verbiage, your language into the way that you want your body to be, on your mind to be programmed to performance, to the peak, to the answers, and to the way that you're performing, whether it be good or bad or not, or you have stress in your life. It's all in the way you interpret all of those senses together.
So would he just kind of...
Yeah, so he asked the question. What?
Sorry, but would he just kind of size you up and like instinctively know what to ask you?
Yeah,
Like
he would go like this. He would say, who in the audience wants to make a change in their life? Making it really simple. He would dumb everything down. So it was super easy because these are professionals. There was 40 people that took this course with me, and you had to be selected. You had literally had to fill out an audition form to be able to come with your background. And the people that were in the class, it's important to know that these are high performing CEOs, CFOs, business owners making millions, if not billions of dollars in their companies. And they were there to either one, take themselves to the next level, or number two, take their team to the next level. And they were having their own personal blocks and just didn't have the tools, even though they had had so much success in their lives. So he would say, Jim, why don't you come on up here and tell me what your change is? And some people would say, I want to do TED Talks and I have a fear of public speaking. So he would look at them and he would do these things with his hands. And we're all just sitting on the edge of our chair. And without going into detail, because they're all like part of the program, it's part of the teachings, you're really, really enthralled in the way that he is talking to people and the questions that he's asking. And he would make you look at yourself as if, why am I putting so much emphasis on the block as opposed to imagining what it would look like when I'm on the stage giving the TED Talk, how I would communicate with the audience, how would my posture look, how would my body look? And he would bring all of those things out in you without even going into hypnosis, even though he is a hypnotherapist. And you would go, oh, I was spending so much time concentrating on what I couldn't do instead of how it would look if I could do it. So, I mean, he is so powerful that way that you were just like, oh, it's not that difficult. It's like, duh. So, yeah, so that's what it was like every day. He would take someone from the class and we would be talking about future pacing or going into all the technical parts, and we'd have our manuals and we would sit in groups. And then he would always do some sort of a change work right in front of us in minutes with someone in the crowd. And people had all kinds of different things, from the fear of snakes to, like I said, public speaking, to teaching their team how to take their profit and loss and their sales team to a whole nother $1 billion level. So he would have people imagine themselves. Now, in hypnosis, you have to go back in and find out the root cause of why you're feeling what you're feeling. There was some few traumas maybe in your past. We all have it. There's no one that can escape it. Even if you had the most perfect childhood, there may have been something in there that's keeping you from being the best that you can be. There's something blocking your mind. And he would say, you know, what happened in that few moments? Like someone doesn't swim. Someone was, you know, we went through COVID and there was a person who had not left their house for 2 years. And it all stemmed back because he went back in time and found out that they had fell into an ice pond and was struggling to swim and almost died until they were rescued. So they've always carried around this like fear of water, fear of going outside, fear of taking themselves to the next level, from having, you know, social anxiety to not being able to make new friends. And it just ricocheted from this one moment in time. And he was able to say, okay, you had this block in just a few seconds. I'm going to teach you how to get rid of it in just a few seconds. So it was, if you want to ask me questions about that, I mean, I can sit and go on and on and on, but I was with him for, you know, 8 to 10 hours a day through the entire conference. And you're just like, oh my God, am I ever going to be able to learn all these things? But there is a technique to each one of these, bringing up the past, understanding how much time you're focusing on it, re-envisioning it, engineering, reverse engineering how you'd like it to go, and then bringing it into action.
So I'm amazed at the change that happens in seconds, right? It's always fascinating, and yet it happens. And anyway, I don't know if I have a question. I've just been amazed by that. Let me ask you this. I've been wondering, in your salon, when you're working with clients, is there a permission that you need to request of them, or does someone just tell you their problem and then you kind of, through friendly conversation, just help them along their way? And how do you approach that?
Okay, so that's a great question. So ethics are super important because you have to remember that some people have beliefs in their past or even to this current time that you don't want to step on those boundaries.
Okay.
And so I have a license to touch as a cosmetologist. So I like to do energy work, and I like to do some tapping and havening techniques,
Okay.
which help to calm the mind. So I always get permission from the guest. Can I touch you during your session? And it's amazing the power of human touch. And I think that's why I've been able to, all these years as a hairdresser and a cosmetologist, been able to get people to open up, because once I start caressing them and touching them, it's amazing what people will tell you. So I know secrets about my clients that no one will ever know, not even their spouse or their family. And so that's a privilege to me, and I hold that very secret. So the answer to your question is yes, I do get permission, and we talk about why their beliefs are where they are. And sometimes people don't understand that when you go back in your past, you are programmed by what your parents have taught you, your teachers taught you, what they said to you, what they showed you, what you saw on TV, your culture, what you grew up with. And so sometimes those beliefs are hard to break when you want to make a change in your life. But that's why it can be as quick as if you show them a different way to believe or a different way to think. And it's not for me to judge. And I let them know that right from the beginning. I'm not judging anything. This is for you to figure out and for you to place what your emphasis on when it comes to the coding that goes into the mind. So my job is a liaison into the mind, but I need them to open up and kind of share. So we do a little bit of talk therapy first. We do talk about it, because I say, if I had a magic wand and this was it, and I use my sound wands for that, but if this was a magic wand, what changes did you want to make today? Which is almost instantaneous, because whether it took me 10 minutes or an hour, which is usually what I'll book 60 to 90 minutes with a client, we're going to figure it out in that time period.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm curious, because I've had people say, oh, when you present or whatever, you use NLP, and I have no idea because I'm not schooled in NLP. And I think, well, that's nice. But what you just described to me, what I'm just fascinated by is, one, I found out that almost everybody feels this, but I thought it was me. It was only me at one point, where, you try to go do something and there's this invisible wall. You know what you want to do, you know where you're going, you know what you want to change or whatever it is. And it's like, no, you're limited, right? And in talk therapy or in some kind of a conversation, the awareness comes up. And a lot of times for me, it's when I have the awareness of the thing, that's when it changes instantly, because you go, oh, I know that's what I've believed, or I realize that's the block that I've had, but that's not how I want it, or what. Is that comparable to what you're talking about? But you're guiding it.
Oh, 100%.
You're guiding it
100%.
professionally, as opposed to randomly coming up and through just right.
Yes. So the answer is, you hit it right on the head there. That's exactly it. It's you realizing what your own block is. And then I help you get into your mind through your subconscious, hopefully, on how to make that happen the way you want it to happen. Oh, I'll give you an example. I think examples are always really great. I had a client who had a fear of flying. She didn't know why she had a fear of flying. She was deathly afraid. She was taking Valium before she had to fly. She had to get places. She was shaking. She literally would have panic attacks when she knew that she had to fly. So finally she came to me, and we put her into hypnosis, and I watched her body through NLP and her ways she was communicating and how emotional she was with her hands and her eye movement. So in hypnosis, we found out that when she was a little girl, her mom and dad were divorced, and her father would always greet her by picking her up and spinning her in the air like an airplane. And she absolutely hated it. It made her sick to her stomach, and she was scared, and it was very fearful. But that was his way of showing love, and she didn't want to not have that happen. So she never said anything to her father. Now, if I had not put her into hypnosis and went back in age regression and found that when we came back out, now it's like, okay, Now you know why you're so fearful of planes, because she related to the turbulence and that feeling of going up and then the plane drops. And we know all those feelings,
Yeah.
but we just sit there and watch a movie and you and I don't care. But for other people, there had to be something in the past. And so once she had her aha moment, now we reversed engineered it. When you get on the plane, this is your time to relax. You get to watch a movie. You don't have your kids screaming in your ear. It's all about self-care. You can take a nap. So she looked at it from a whole different perspective. And then, 2 weeks later, she's getting on the plane and she's taking a selfie of her getting on the plane. Like, she's super excited. She has a whole new state of mind. So when I say like it can happen like that, it really can, and it can be that simple.
Well,
How long does it usually take?
yeah.
Sorry, Tom.
No, go
I
for it.
usually see a
Is-
guest, maybe 160 to 90-minute session. If it's something like smoking or weight loss, we can usually do it in one session. The reason I step into
Really?
coaching is it's all about discovery. It's self-discovery. Why are you always gaining the weight back? What is it about your past that you are not successful with working out? Why do you only set a goal and then stop after a week? Once we determine that, which I can do in one session, the coaching now comes into the future. So now it's like, okay, now that you understand your relationship with food, let's get you on the right diet. Let's go get a blood test. Let's make sure you're connecting with the right doctors. And then I'm the accountability person. Now I follow up with them so they stay accountable, which is what a coach is. It's teaching them how to remanage whatever their problem is or whatever their block is or whatever the obstacle is, at least for me.
I think it's awesome because, however I understood hypnotherapy and NLP, I always thought of it to be a manipulative, negative thing, right? Like it was like, we're going to control your mind type stuff, where what you just described is very genuine. It was like, hey, let's put you in a better place and give you, this new belief, and being able to fly after years of being just terrified of it sounds amazing. And then the other part of it, um, oh, I might have lost my thought, but what you were just saying in the sense of, am I to understand that at that point there's kind of a clean slate, and it's like, okay, here, let's now build the future with the new. Is that how you take
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. I mean, I have so many different instances. People have had very bad traumas in their life, and they have suppressed it for whatever reason. But once you get to the bottom line of why you think the way you think or believe the way you think, it's such a sense of freedom. Like
Mm,
for me, it was because I had been struggling with weight, for 20 years. And I did go on many diets during that time. But when I was young, I was taught that, you have bread at every meal and this is how you eat as an Italian, and you had pasta at every meal, and this was my culture. This is what I learned. It wasn't unhealthy, was it? I mean, so now every time that I would try to eat vegetables all day long,
uh,
I didn't understand the relationship. But once I was in hypnotherapy, it's like, oh, this was my belief system in how I had a relationship with food. Now that I understand it, I can reverse engineer that to work for me and not against me. And things happen in our lives for us. We have to let go of our ego. People have such an ego, and let it go. It's so freeing when you do that. It's like, okay, I didn't make a mistake. I'm not a bad person. This was just my belief system growing up. It was my culture. It's what I learned to eat pizza on Friday nights. What's the big deal? So, but over time, that caused such, a decline of my health and gaining weight and everything else. So once I understood where the problem stemmed from,
mhm.
then I was free to move forward and be able to heal my body. And the same thing with any of my clients. Once we understand the core root problem, now I can lead them in a path through coaching to heal. And healing is such, it's a very broad word, but sometimes, if you're taking, like in your guys' case, you're leading these people into these multi-million-dollar figure numbers with their businesses. but they still need to heal what's happening here and
Mhm.
able to move past that as an obstacle into the future to lead their team to the levels that they want to do.
And I found it interesting. Now, I'm glad you said that because I found it interesting that in our business and many others, right, we'll offer a logical, strategic, task-oriented solution. And what I find is that as soon as somebody jumps into that, the personal blocks show up, right? And then that's the thing. Then it's not until then that they either start to spend energy on it or become fixated on spending energy on it. And when they get help like you offer, they're able to go further faster, right? We used to call it get the smog out of their heads so they can actually just do the fifth grade work that we're teaching them to do, right? And because it's logically it's simple, however, we all get in our own way, right?
Yes, yes. And it's funny because we're animals at the end of the day. We're animals just like animals roaming around outside.
Yeah.
So we have instinctual habits and we have choices that we can make as human beings where animals can't. So I always say, you're an animal. Don't make a choice. Just go on your instincts. Your instincts are your best leader, meaning that every morning when you wake up, you have to go to the bathroom, you have to get some water, you need to go outside and get fresh air, just like every other animal. But you're choosing to get on your phone and start looking at the drama that's already unfolding before you've even done any of those self-care things, right? You've made that choice to do that to yourself. And then you're wondering why you don't have, any peace or there's so much stress in your life. Routine is so important. Those birds that are flying in the air, they all go the same way and they do that out of instinct, right? So we need to just go with our own instincts. It's so simple. We make our lives more stressful than they really need to be. So, just letting people sometimes realize that is so freeing.
Absolutely. That's true. So, um, are there any, so do you need to be NLP licensed? Is there any way coaches can integrate this into their coaching practice without being licensed? Or would you recommend getting licensed or certified in hypnotherapy? Because it is super interesting in terms of, getting people to comply with their.
I was going to ask that. Jim, can I ask a question right to blend with
Yeah,
that? I
sure.
was going to ask, should you experience it for yourself to truly to understand it, right? It seems like this far away intangible thing until you experience it, and then it
Yes.
becomes very real and tangible. And would you recommend a dual approach like that? Like go have it done or go get, I don't know what the phrasing is, go get it for yourself. And then
Yeah.
learn to
So
apply
what
it.
I wanted to do with you both is maybe just do a little demonstration really quick on you guys and just show you how the mind has control, if that's okay. And then, yes, the answer is absolutely. I mean, I went to the best of the best. I've trained with Richard, who is the founder of NLP from the
Right.
70s. He's been doing this with Milton Erickson, who was the very first recognized doctor of hypnotherapy. He trained with him. So I said to myself, if you're going to do this, you better train with the best of the best. And I don't care how much it costs. I want to make sure that I learn from the best. There are hundreds of companies out there that do certified NLP classes, but because Richard Bandler is the founder, he has a licensing trademarked program. So I wanted to make sure that I got that. So that's the difference there. And I had to sign a licensing agreement and everything else that I would not take his teachings and all of his programs and then try to revamp that into my own way, which is what's happening out there in the world because it's an unregulated practice. So I absolutely recommend that you get it from somewhere else. And I can always give you in your show notes the different companies that I went through.
Okay.
Happy to share that information. Mind Valley is also a huge company. And Paul McKenna was, I did a lot of research before I went. Who are these people? I had never heard of them. They never played a part in my life in any way because I never knew who they were. But once I did the research and found out that Paul was working with Richard, all those years since the 70s and 80s that they had appeared all over the world and taught hundreds of thousands of people, this art and this craft, I was like, I don't want to train with anybody else. So that's why I chose to be with them.
That's awesome.
And I would highly recommend a coach to definitely get the proper training. Don't watch a few podcasts or a couple of YouTube videos and think that you can figure this out. But there's so many techniques, and there's ways that people move their eyes. There's ways that people move their lips when they're telling a story. When I'm talking to you, I'm picking up on so many signals that there's no way, if you didn't have training, you would have any idea what any of that means. I can tell in 5 minutes if this person has trauma from childhood, from something that happened in business, from something that we have to overcome when it comes to security and confidence. And that kind of training took a long time for me to develop. And I'm still learning every single day. Every client is so very different from the next. Everyone has their own fingerprints, and those fingerprints come out when they're talking to me. And I can see that everybody's different, and I have to use a different technique on everyone. Not everybody comes in and I use the same dialogue or the same script every single time. It's completely different every single guest that I talk to and that I serve. So I hope that answers your question. But if you guys want, I can do like a little example of something you can do right in your chair if you want.
You know what? Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So all you're going to do is this. This is kind of a simulation of what most coaches are dealing with when they want to take their client to the next level.
Okay.
So if you put your hand straight out in front of you, and I just want you to take it back as far as you can and hold it as far back as you can and kind of feel it there. Feel how it feels, how it may even sound, the sensations that you're getting with it there. It kind of gets a little tired, right? It gets a little bit of, if you want to drop it or whatever. Okay, so I want you to drop your hand now, and I want you to sort of shake it out. Now, you felt some sensations with your arm. You saw how far back it went. Now I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it for 4 seconds, and then out through your mouth, exhaling all the tension from your body and all the tension from your mind. And while your eyes are closed, I want you to imagine your arm going about 30% farther. 20 to 30% farther. Imagine your hand reaching even farther behind you. Your body works with your mind. It's easy. It's energetic. It's very, very, you can absolutely see your arm going back. Can you see it there? Can you see it in your mind? This is your imagination making things happen, and it starts in your mind. So I want you to open up your eyes now and look at me. And then I want you to put your arm straight out in front of you. And now take your arm back and see if you can take your arm even 20 to 30% farther than you did when you started. See, I can see already Tom's like way back there now.
That's amazing.
So that's the power of the mind. And that's an example of what your clients are going through. They're like, I have a block. Well, it starts here. Let's get over the hump. This is how NLP and hypnosis work together. And then you can see yourself doing so much more. How would that look if you created that in your mind? Your body will listen to the way you want it to perform. You just have to give it the opportunity, and it all starts here.
I have a question.
Okay.
That's so amazing. So that was all of the putting my arm back the first time. It was a very physical block sensation here. And yet you did a mental description, and then there was no pain until I hit, not pain, but the tension started. The first time it was a little painful. The second time I was like, I can go.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure your clients say to you, I have so much pain, Tom. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I'm so stressed out. I can't see myself. I can't do it. I can't use my imagination. But think about children. Children, they are fearless. They can do anything. They don't see anything as a block. You ask them to jump off a building, they're like, okay, I'll do it. They only imagine in their mind it happening and they make it happen. It's somewhere along the path that that magic disappears. And what happened in that timeline is important for me to figure out so that the client can go back to being a child and thinking like a child, and I'm unstoppable and I can make it happen.
Mm.
That's the most important part for them to see.
It's amazing that is it self-imposed or is it self-accepted that that's just all we can do?
Good question. I think we put our own limitations on ourselves.
Okay.
We're putting those limitations. We weren't born, a baby isn't born with stress and trauma. A baby
Yeah.
looks at you with magic,
Yeah.
right? They know you're going to take care of them. They know they're being coddled. They know if they need to eat, they just have to cry a little bit. If they're tired, they just have to cry a little bit. So somewhere along the path of us as human beings, figure out that there's something that's stopping us. Maybe mom stopped coming in to get us out of the crib and let us cry there for a long time. And so our subconscious starts thinking, I have to find other ways, other behaviors, other patterns to get my mother's attention in here. And
Mm.
so those patterns and behaviors and habits start to follow us along our journey. And once we can see the pattern that we've developed in our own mind, which is what you were asking,
Mm.
and we can free ourselves from that, it's unstoppable. It's amazing the freedom that you have to just create so much success in your life in every way.
Well, now that I can move my arm 20% further, I'm like, what else? What else can we fix? What else can we do? Right?
Athletes do it all the time. I always think with athletes, they've put them, hooked them up to EEG machines and measured their brain waves. So when they close their eyes and imagine the game or the race in their minds,
Mm.
all of the same neurological pathways start to fire as if they were in real time running the race themselves. So there's no difference. The mind has so much power. It's incredible.
That's true. So we're almost out of time. So a couple things, Liz. Are there any other NLP techniques that coaches can use? Any simple things that, if you're not, if somebody's saying, oh, I'll get a license at some point, but, are there any quick and easy tips, techniques, exercises that they could use with clients, whether it's like a business coach or a health coach?
Yes, I think doing what we call reframing or watching the patterns, building rapport with your client. What does that even mean? Well, when I'm sitting here talking to you and I'm in a room and I'm listening to whatever your needs are, and I assume that you do a lot of virtual consultations with clients, watching and building rapport means simply this. What are their eyes doing? How is their voice? What is the tone of their voice? Are they excited about what they're saying? Are they stressed out about what they're saying? What are their hand movements? What are their body movements? As a coach, you want to build rapport and pace with that guest or that client, whatever you call them.
Okay.
Meaning, if you're going like this and you're moving all around and you're the client will sense that and you're not building rapport. So always move. Your movements is super important to gain trust and rapport from the client for sure. And then also giving them a little sample of something like what I just did with the hand and showing them that they have the power within themselves to trust you. Let me just do this little exercise with you. Try this. And showing them that you have the power to help them get to the levels that they want to. It
Okay.
sounds corny to do that little hand thing, but I'm telling you, it works every time. People are like, oh, it's going to be that easy to work with Jim and Tom. Oh my God, these guys are amazing. They can just show me how to release all that stuff from the past, and referring them to the right people gains a lot of rapport and trust as well. So those are always my little tools of getting someone to do it. And just do research. Just do a lot of research. Take the time to listen and do research. I personally learned so much from listening to podcasts all the time about my art and my craft so that I'm consistently learning from other pros in the industry. I think that's important.
Very cool. Tom, any last questions?
I don't have any more questions. I'm just blown away. Lisa, thank you so much. This is the
My pleasure.
closest connection I've had to anyone who really knows spent time with me on NLP. I've known a few who have certified, but this was an awesome experience. So thank you.
You're so welcome.
So actually, Lisa, if people want to check you out, where can they find you?
So they can go on Facebook under Liza Basil, or they can go to LinkedIn under Liza Basil and message me there. Or if they're just interested in making an appointment, heal.me/Liza Basil. You can make an appointment right
Just
on.
spell your name just so people.
Sure, it's Liza, and the last name is Basil, like the spice, Basil.
Okay.
And thank you so much
We'll
for
sure
having
put
me. I'm
those things
super
in the
grateful.
notes
It's
here,
been
too.
so much fun.
Thank you for joining us today. It
Lisa,
was
thank
great to
you.
have you.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah. So anything to wrap it up, Tom?
That's all, folks. That's all.
Have a great day, everybody. Go make some change in the world.
Thank you for watching.